everybody. Hello, welcome, welcome. Oh, there we go. Hello. How's everyone doing? I'm just gonna lift this up a little bit. Oh, look at everyone coming on. So fun. I'm coming to you live from Calgary. I'm actually at my dad's. My dad just moved, and so I get to see his new place firsthand, which is exciting. So we're just getting settled here. Everyone's logging on. So this is a webinar. So what that means for those of you who are new, no one can see you. I can't even see you. So I see your names here, but so I'm here. I'm going to be sharing my screen soon, and then I'm going to have you can ask any questions. I do recommend that you have a piece of paper and a pen with you, but remember, like, you can get the replay for this, so don't get stuck up on stuck up on oh, what did she say? You can watch the replay. And I do have a lot of information for today. This is a very interesting topic. It was fascinating as I did the research for it and as I was preparing this for you. And we are actually, as the Let Yourself Thin group, we'll be really going into a deep dive in May. And May will be really focusing on hunger and learning about hunger. We're going to do a really fun challenge to be distraction free while eating, because you're going to learn today about how hunger is probably one of the most underutilized tools for weight loss. It's fascinating. So it is going to be a little bit heavy. There's as far as information, but I think that knowledge is power, and the more that we can understand, the better off we're going to be. So I do want to welcome you, and so pleased that you're here, and really congratulate you for being here, for taking this time for your brain, because what it's showing me is that you recognize that weight loss really is not about a checklist. Weight loss is really about your relationship with yourself, with food, and learning how to feel comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and all of that. So I love that you're here, and I do really want to encourage you to have this to be interactive for you. So underneath the settings there, you're going to have a little chat bubble. And so if you can put anything in the chat instead of the Q&A, that'd be really helpful for me, especially because I'm on my laptop. It's a little bit smaller. I don't have as big a screen. And so it's hard for me to keep both of those open, especially when I'm sharing the screen. So turn off your phone, which I'm going to remind myself right now. So just turn it on silent. You know, you've committed to this hour, and this is going to be an incredible resource for you. All right. So just as we get started, I would love for you just to tell me where you're from. So just in the chat box, this looks like a little speech bubble. I would love to hear where you're from, and it would be interesting to get your feedback on your biggest take about hunger. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm just going to, okay. So why hunger lies make permanent weight loss impossible? So one of the things that I'm finding, oh, look, people are going in the chat. That's so fun. Okay, so I got to open. Okay, we've got Ontario. We have two. We have two ladies from Ontario. We have Mesa, Arizona. We have three from Ontario. I love it. By the way, did you know that I was born in Ontario? And there we go. So many places. And in fact, in my dad's office, there's a signed letter from Pierre Trudeau. My dad used to work on Parliament Hill. Okay, Saskatchewan. Love it. So welcome everyone. Northern Virginia. I love it. And Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. That's a fun name. Okay, so BC, yeah. What are some of the biggest lies about hunger? And I want you, this is a really big thing. There's a lot of misunderstanding about hunger that we haven't even realized. And I just want you to like think about, like, is it dangerous to be hungry because you're going to binge, like just all of those things. So we don't truly understand when or why we are hungry. And why do you think that is? So you don't have to write it in the chat. These are just like some questions to just start getting you going. Where does hunger come from? And so, just scientifically, so hunger comes from our stomach and travels to the brain. But we have brought, so we have these 9 lies that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and we have reversed that order. We think that hunger comes from our brain. We think that hunger comes from the smell of bread being made. We think that hunger comes from hearing like the sizzling of meat. Like we've really got this messed up in this order. So we have a thought about hunger, and then we tell the stomach that we're hungry. That is actually not the way it's supposed to be, and that is why we are living in a culture and society where obesity is one of the biggest epidemics right now. So why does hunger exist? So we have to understand that we have all been taught a fundamental misunderstanding about hunger. The sooner we can accept this reality, the sooner we can start making big changes in our lives and master our own bodies. So in the chat, I would love to hear what is the scariest thing about hunger for you? Is it that you're afraid you're going to binge? Is it you're afraid that you're going to mess up your metabolism? Okay. So, like I said, oh, feeling weak. Yes. Feeling like you're going to run out of gas. So interesting. Feeling like you can't trust yourself and you're just going to get out of control. So, hi, these are some really interesting questions. I haven't eaten in 5 hours. Oh, I guess it's time to eat. It's lunchtime. It's dinner time. It's snack time. It's restaurant time. I think my blood sugar is low. That's another one where like we get really afraid. I'm tired. I need to pick me up. I need breakfast. I need a protein bar. I need a certain number of calories. I need nutrients. I just worked out, so I need to replenish. Right? How often do these thoughts come to your mind versus your stomach feeling hungry, having that your ghrelin is kicked in, that hormone that's informing you that you're actually hungry, right? Binge and getting out of control, totally. So all of these thoughts come from your brain and not from your stomach. These have all started in your brain and then traveled to your stomach. This breaks trust in your body. If you are constantly telling yourself when to eat instead of listening to your body for true hunger cues, you can't possibly learn what true hunger is. Now, this is like a very interesting topic because I don't think a lot of us have, like, we don't like sit and chat around about and talk about hunger. This is really misunderstood. And then I do want to offer, and we're going to get through this, but think about the amount of advertising that's just constantly telling us when we're hungry. They're just constantly giving us messages about when that's really happening. So, knowing when you are hungry and feeling hungry are two very different things. So, I'm actually going to go through these 9 slides, the top 10 lies about hunger, and it will be very interesting to like just open your brain to say, and I kind of want you to take a tally of the 9, which ones are you falling into and which ones don't really affect you. And I do like to, as an active listener, my background is I was an elementary school teacher for 10 years, and then I taught quilting professionally for many years. And so I've taught adults, I've taught kids, and I've been, teaching. And so I do want to give you an opportunity to get the most out of this hour. And so part of getting the most out of this time is for you to say like, hey, like where would I fall on this range? 1 being no, not at all. 10 being yeah, she's like speaking to me. Like I feel like she's like speaking to me through the screen. So I really want you just to be like very engaged in what I'm saying. And again, you'll have the replay, and I mean I can even share the slides with you. Okay. So number 1, let's see where you're at. So hunger is scary. So if you go too empty, you will feel out of control and then binge eat. Okay. So on it, on your piece of paper, like one being, no, that's not me at all. 10 being like, yeah, I totally am afraid of hunger. I just don't feel like I can trust myself. And then I just go nuts. Okay. Number two, we can't go without fuel. So we think that our stomachs are like a tank of gas. And if it gets too empty, you'll be stranded at the side of the road. How many of you believe that? Okay. Number three, past experiences. So we are told we need to eat regularly. And if we are too hungry, you will mess up your metabolism and then you won't be regulated. So where do you fall on that one? Trust issues. Okay, this is very interesting. So we have what's called a circadian rhythm. And this circadian rhythm confirms that for most people, hunger is lowest first thing in the morning. So this is like how our bodies, like we have these natural rhythms, okay? So hunger is lowest first thing in the morning, even though it's been 14 hours since you last ate. Even though we are at our hungriest at dinner and we have just eaten 5 hours previously. So now you don't trust yourself and you don't really know when you're hungry or not. Okay. So when we're just constantly eating and we're just saying, oh, it's time to eat breakfast, our circadian rhythm is not necessarily, we're not really that hungry. And so learning to listen to that instead of saying, oh, it's like 7, I must eat. So just really learning how to trust that. These are some pretty fun pictures. Hunger is so sensory problems. So we have, you know, touch, taste, feel, all of our five senses. I'm actually going to teach you a sixth sense. So hunger is learned and is tied to our senses. So when you hear the steak sizzling, you're like, "Ooh, that I'm hungry." Or when you whatever, like you smell the bakery items at the when you walk into the grocery store, right? So think about Pavlov's dogs. They were stimulated to eat when they saw a man in a white lab coat. So even though, so visually they saw the white lab coat and they were like, oh yeah, that guy, those guys always feed us. I'm now going to start to salivate. I now know, now I'm like, oh, I want to be hungry. Okay. So just this is really just interesting to start being more aware of. So the I don't even know, cephalic response. So physical gut responses for preparing to eat through salivation, right? So it's like Pavlov's dogs. Pancreatic fluid secretion and insulin production starts when there is an expectation of food delivery. Our senses inform our body that we need to eat and get ready to eat. So that's why we start to salivate. Like, have you, like, you see like a really beautifully presented piece of, food. I was just in an airport, there was lots of those, right? And visually, it's so stimulating that we then have this I don't know if I'm going to say it right, cephalatic response. And it just starts to prepare us. We're like, oh, we're going to start eating. So we got to get those fluids going because we are visually stimulated, or the same thing with when we smell something. So that is just really good to know. And as you know, advertisers have really capitalized on that. Huge. They're not, so visual response. So this is very similar. So visual stimuli like good plating, gorgeous pictures, that a food stimulates our hunger. And that can lead us to feeling scary or out of control. So then of course then create some fear around that. So because we feel like we can't trust ourselves. All right, consistency. Consistency with food time becomes a habit, not a true intrinsic hunger learned through decades of association. So even, I mean, my father, he's now in this really beautiful care home, and they say I actually had to do a test getting like to come to see him because I was out of the country, and but they dictate to him, you eat at this time, and this time. So if he's not really paying attention to his hunger, then that's it's not really conducive to helping him with that. Okay, this one is huge, and we just had 3 birthdays at the beginning of April. So we have food associations. So going to the movies, right? What do? We want to have that popcorn and pop. Eating between, like soccer games, you have to bring the orange wedges or the watermelon, like the watermelon or whatever. Food at concerts, right? You've got the nachos and the chips and you have the hot dogs. Those are all associated with going to a concert. Even food while you watch TV. There's all these associations that we just bring along. Okay. So of those nine, oh, there's one more. I think there's one more. Yes. Our lower brain, so basic instinct. So our lower brain wants wants us to always be. Remember, we have this motivational triad. So for those of you who are new, we want to stay safe, we want to seek pleasure, and we want to conserve energy. So that is the job of our lower brain, which, by the way, has served us really well. That's why, humans, we're really thriving. Some people could argue with that, but we've really learned how to overcome so many obstacles. Um, but that those three things, and so our lower brain, so our basic instincts, tell us that we should not be hungry. Right? It's like hunger is not a good idea, because if we're hungry, that means that we could not have any more energy, and then we could die. So even in our wiring, and even to go with that, our basic instincts is like we should do the least amount of work to have the maximum amount of calories. So when refined flour and sugar came around, it was like, yes, this is a fabulous idea. You don't have to hardly do anything, and then you get a lot of energy in return. This is a great idea. Okay. So, and then it also says you shouldn't try new things. You should just lay on the couch and watch Netflix. You should just really just like calm the heck down. Don't do new things. Don't exert yourself. Just conserve all the energy. Stay safe and have a lot of energy in case there's a famine. Okay. But we also have a higher brain that knows that the healthier we are, the fitter we are, the actually our chances of survival are even better. And even like if a bear was chasing us, we would do better at running from the bear if we were healthier. Okay. So there's always going to be this dichotomy between the lower brain and the higher brain. And this is the work that we're doing, is learning how to say, okay, I understand you, lower brain, but we're going to just keep going. We're going to be at our higher level. Okay. So hunger, I want to just talk about, why is hunger scary? And I have, if you go too empty, you feel out of control and then you binge eat. Okay. So I wanted to draw you to the attention of, this feels very scary. And when you feel scared, there's that threat. Okay. And the fear is the emotion that's going to drive you and all your actions. Now, the other part of this is we can't go without it. And I was just in a conference in California, and there was a lady that has some eating disorders. And the thing with food is we actually all do need to eat food to survive. We do. We need to have a certain basic amount of fuel, calories, to fuel our bodies, just even to blink, to walk, to breathe, all those basic functions, to swallow, like all of that, we do need like approximately 1,200 calories a day to survive. So if you have that thought, we think that if our stomachs are like a tank of gas, if it gets too empty, you'll be stranded at the side of the road. So now we have fear and scarcity and danger, and that's keeping us from living our best life. So then we have past experiences. So if we are told we need to eat regularly, and if you are too hungry, you will mess up your metabolism and then you won't be regulated. So again, you're now looking, I call it like the filter that you're looking through. It's fear, confusion. All of this is surrounded with food. So you're like, no wonder food seems so scary. No wonder this whole thing seems really overwhelming, because all of these thoughts are bringing us back. Okay, so trust. So our circadian rhythm confirms that for most people, hunger is the lowest first thing in the morning, even though it's been that 14 hours, like I said. But even though we are the hungriest at dinner and we have just eaten 5 hours previously, so now we don't trust ourselves to know when our body is hungry. And so, one of the things that we need to learn to do is to learn to trust when we're hungry and when we're full, and being able to say, I'm actually not really that hungry. And I'm going to be starting to pay attention to the way that my body functions, and I can feel good about that. So 'cause what I'm doing right now is I'm like there was the 9 lies, and I'm showing you what actually happens with those lies. Okay. So with those sensory, you can smell it, you walk into the grocery store. I mean, they know this, right? So hunger is learned and is tied to all of our senses. So when you smell a steak, you're hungry. So again, we're now becoming fearful about food, and we're not feeling that confidence. And so here we have this, our we smell something, and so our body starts going into that mode of like, I want to be eating now. This sounds like a really good idea. And so now we're feeling like food is out of our control. So do you see how these lies are bringing us like fear and out of control and all of those things that feel terrible? So now we have this beautifully plated food, and so again, your body is feeling like, oh, I really want that. That looks really great. And so now you feel like you're out of control. It's scary. And this fear, which, resonates most in, sorry, which one resonates most with you in the circumstance when you see this and you really want it, but you're actually not hungry and you feel like you just have to eat that thing. So with this idea of consistency, so food now becomes just a habit. It's like it's 11:30. Of course, I'm going to start to salivate because that's just my habit. And so again, look at the emotions that are fueling that. You feel scared. You feel out of control. It feels like you don't really have a say in what's going on. Food associations. Again, you feel out of control. You don't feel empowered. You feel like kind of like a slave to it. It doesn't, and truthfully, you don't even realize like there's an option not to. Like if you had a surgery and the doctor said, you can't be eating, eating these foods, then like, could you still celebrate birthdays? Yes. Could you still enjoy movies? Yes. But it doesn't feel like it's even a possibility because it's just been like association. You're like, oh, well, of course, I just need to do this. All right. Now, the basic instincts. So, our basic instincts tell us to stay safe, seek pleasure, and to conserve energy. And so, it wants you to eat all these foods, but your higher brain is like, we will be okay. We have lots of food. We don't need to do that. So then, of course, you're feeling scared. It feels like it's a life or death situation, and you have all of this fear. So, which ones? So, when I went through those, what resonates with you when it comes around food? So scared, life or death, fear, like normal, out of control, unempowered, mistrusted, scarcity, danger, confusion. Which one do you resonate with? Oh, syphil, sy, syphilic. Syphilic. I think I did that right. Syphilic? Syphilic. Okay. Thanks, Sue. You got me. Okay, so how do you try to cope and solve for these? So you tend to get mad at ourselves and for overeating, but we never really figure out why we're overeating. And like in the challenge we're going to do in May, is we're actually going to be distraction-free eating. So we're not going to be watching Netflix or scrolling on Facebook while we're eating. And I do have a caveat about eating with your family. Okay. So we use punishment and berate ourselves. We compare and despair with others who are thin and eat ice cream. We use incentives and punishments to smarten up. But when we aren't eating, when we're really hungry, we're adding more stored fuel on our bodies. We're not balancing our hormones and we don't understand when we're truly hungry. We are using food to feel better. So we're going for that short term false pleasure instead of that long term gain. And we're using food to distract ourselves. So this has just been a learned coping strategy. All right. And we're losing the whole purpose of food. We're losing that the purpose of food is to fuel our bodies, it's to heal our bodies, and it's to build our bodies, to have them be strong and healthy. We also have a purpose of food as a way to take care of other humans in a very supportive and healthy way. And that's the same thing for ourselves. Okay. So we have just been mistreating food. We've been using food for like not what it's supposed to be for. So the problem is when we mistreating food, you never fix a problem you don't know you have, right? You don't even realize you're doing this. Like I would be really curious to hear your feedback as I've been sharing this. It's like, did you realize that this was happening? These 9 lies about hunger. You never learn to trust yourself. So you're not developing this relationship of trust with your body. Okay. And your hormones are out of whack, and weight loss is not about the state of your stomach, but it's the state of your hormones. Okay. So you're not giving yourself like even like an even playing ground to have like a healthy relationship with your body. So hunger is not simply a reflection of the amount of food filling your hunger. Instead, hunger is partly a learned phenomenon. And this is by Jason Fung. So a lot of this research that I've done, a lot of this work that I do with my clients is all based on science and on what these these specialists in the field are witnessing. And so I really want us to just take a step back and see what's happening for you, because this is a tool that's going to help you and enable you to really live a life where weight loss is just like I just eat food to take care of myself. I'm so in tune with my body. I know when I'm hungry and I know when I'm not. So the reasons we put this is because our body is not a computer of input and output. We can eat at 1 and be hungry 5 hours later and then sleep for 12 hours and not be hungry in the morning. So it doesn't always make sense, but we aren't a robot, right? And one of the things that I want to emphasize is that when we eat more food than our body needs, that food goes into a form of storage. And that storage is then put in our stomachs, our thighs, wherever. And so what we have to learn is how to access the storage so that we aren't continually eating. And so to learn how to pay attention to our body is just going to be so much more helpful. It's not, but like I said here, we're not like a robot that says you have to eat at this time, and this time. And that's why checklists for diets don't work. Because we have to learn that our body has rhythms, our body has all these different processes. And unless we actually understand how the body's working, we're not going to have success. Okay. So, this is such a good question. Are you truly running on empty? So, if you are really hungry, does that work? So, what is ultimately created is you don't trust your body to know when you're truly hungry or not. And you never learn to feel hunger. And then you never experience permanent weight loss because you don't ever use your body for how it's built. Okay. So our bodies are made so that we can store extra. Trust myself totally, then throw in some scarcity. Totally. Yeah. And I think one of the things that happens with this is that because we didn't understand that when we eat when we're truly hungry, um, we have broken trust with ourselves. Our body's like, you know what? I keep trying to tell you only eat when you're hungry. And then when you keep eating when you're not hungry, like the body kind of gets to a point where it just says, well, do whatever you want. You're going to do it anyway. Okay. So this is what's happening for you. So I'm going to take a pause for a minute. I just want you to go in the chat. And I want you just to share with me What is I feel like I'm going like really, really fast. So I just want to like slow down for a minute. What is coming up for you when I went through those 9 lies about hunger? Like about, are you like worrying about binging, worrying about like not being able to really like pay attention to your hunger? What's coming up for you? So here I am at my long arm. Such a nice picture. So if I never really learned to pay attention to, I mean, how I like really learn how to use my long arm, I wouldn't do a very good job. Like my yeah, how to actually identify hunger. Scared of control. Yes. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. Um, Such a good one. You're so good. So when you learn to just embrace hunger, you don't have to be afraid of it. But could you see that when I went through those again and I said, like, these are the things that are happening? You're having emotions of fear, out of control, all of that. Okay. So it makes perfect sense that you don't ever want to be hungry. You don't want to feel fear. You don't want to feel out of control. You don't want to feel scarcity. Totally makes sense. Okay. So we are going to talk about how to identify hunger. So this is my alternative solution for you. You can learn how hunger is a tool to help you be at your naturally thin weight. Every body has its natural thin set point, and it wants to. The higher brain always wants us to be our healthiest, happiest version of our bodies. Okay. And you can take control of your body. You can finally stop hating your body, and stop hating the body you are in and losing power with yourself and become a champion of your body and mind. Hunger will no longer leave you in a place of fear. Okay. So I will be teaching you this. And that is how we're going to learn. We're going to learn to, if we are starting to feel the fear, we just allow it to happen. Okay. So, what I've created for you is I want to show you that the 5 senses are there to help you learn how hunger is programmed, and it's going to help you with you and your body, your relationship with your body. Okay. So, we're going to go through the senses, and I'm going to introduce you a sixth sense. It's going to be really fun. So, sight. Food is appealing when you are triggered by food. But what I want you to do is just pause and say, if I eat this food, is it going to create the body that I want? And just being able to take that pause is going to be enough to go from your lower brain that wants to eat all the foods, sleep on the couch, conserve energy, to, oh, wait a minute. I actually understand that if I eat this food, I'm going to feel bloated. I'm going to feel um, like regret. I'm going to feel all these things. I don't want to feel that way. So I see you, but I know that if I ate you, I wouldn't feel so good. And that's tricky. And I tell you, it is very possible. Okay. So sound. So you will be triggered by sounds of food sizzling, memories of food in the past, even hearing happy birthday. Oh, pardon me. You can start drooling. Be aware that your body has a natural response to these sounds. Decide now to check in with yourself to see if you're truly hungry. So you can hear it and you're like, ooh, I'm hungry now. And you can just say, wait a minute, am I hungry or not? See, I'm teaching you just to slow it down, especially when you understand the role of the lower brain and the role of the higher brain. Then it doesn't feel so unempowering anymore. It doesn't feel like you're a victim. You're like, I just heard that food and it sounded so delicious and I just had to eat it. It's like I heard the food, looked like really, it got my attention. And then I was like, oh, now I know about hunger and it comes from my stomach, not from my head. Great. I'm not going to eat it. You see, just like slowing that down makes such a difference. Taste. So, taste is a great motivator to eat. So you can say, I can taste this, and is it going to give me the results that I want or not? And you could even say things like, I love that I have good taste to take care of my body. I love that I have a good memory and I can just remember how good that tasted. I don't have to have that taste right now. Touch. Um, so only eat at the dinner table. That's going to make such a difference for you. Okay. You're like, I really want that thing, but I'm not going to eat it until I'm sitting at a table. Because that would just slow everything down. And then you can just be so much more in sync with yourself. Smell. I want to encourage you to break habits and change with habit swapping. Okay. So, for example, um, so habit swap. So, like, say when I like smell something, and instead of just like going and eating it, I smell it, and then I say, I really love that smell. It brings me so much, so many good memories. And then you share a memory. So now instead of the habit of like smelling the smell and then eating the thing, you now do I smell the smell and I tell myself a story. It's just that those shifts, those little shifts, and they make such a difference. Okay, so there is a sixth sense, and this is really important. Our sixth sense is our emotions. So our emotions then inform us of how we are doing. Um, this is one of the least understood or explored reasons why we eat. So I had a client that talked about chocolate chips, and she didn't have chocolate chip cookies or chocolate chips, I can't remember. But it was a memory that she had with her father. And she would sit on his lap and they would have this time together. And so a lot of times, chocolate chip cookies, a lot of times when she was feeling sad and just really missing her dad and really missing that connection, she would just make chocolate chips. And then she would eat the chocolate chips and she'd remember her dad. And I said, what would it be like just to just think about your dad? Or even just, sit and think about your dad. Or you'd even make the chocolate chip cookies and just take it all in and just have all the memories. And the eating part isn't even necessary. What would that be like? And so when we can realize that everything we do in life, our main motivation for everything we do in life is because we want to feel a certain way, when we really understand that, oh, I just want to feel connected to my dad. Because I'm telling, like, I have a question for you. If a doctor said you can never eat any chocolate chip cookies ever again, you can't. It will be, um, it will ruin your health. Or if someone said, if you ate a chocolate chip cookie again, I'm gonna punch your granddaughter. I'm gonna punch her. Would you do it? Would you eat that chocolate chip cookie? No. So, but could you still have that connection with your dad? How? Because you have your connection with your dad is your thoughts about your dad. It actually has nothing to do with the eating of the cookie. So this is why emotions are so misunderstood, because we don't slow down enough to see what's actually going on. We just think, I miss my dad. I'm going to go make some chocolate chip cookies and I'm going to eat them. And I'm just going to like eat them until I feel sick. No, you can just say, I miss my dad. And you can think about your dad. You can go maybe look at some pictures of your dad. Maybe you can decide to make a quilt from his shirts as like a legacy, right? Oh, oh, pardon me. I had a late flight last night. Okay. So do you see how like just talking about this and just kind of bringing this up, like what is coming up for you when I share this? Because the advertisers don't want us to know this. They want us to buy all the things, right? And that's okay. I mean, they're doing their job. They're getting people to spend money. It's fine. Like, I'm not saying like we live in this big conspiracy world and everything's out to get you. No, but they're just doing their job. They're like, oh, I have some research. This helps people. Okay. And they also know about, your fear of being, you want to stay in control and you want to actually like, understand they don't like, we don't want them to understand hunger. We don't want them to be in control. We want them to feel like threatened to be out of control. So let's like put food as one of their ways to feel control. Just not. The way we feel control is our thoughts, always. Okay. So when you feel the following emotions, what do you want to eat? Okay. So this is like a little game. So you can get out your piece of paper. So when you feel bored, what do you want to eat? You can put them in the chat. Actually, it's super fun. I love being interactive. One of the problems with webinars is I don't see your faces. Okay. So when you feel bored, do you want to have like pop or ice cream floats? That sounds fun. Do you want to, what is it that you want? Sweets. Bored chips. Interesting. Why? It's like chips. Are they your friend? Were they like always there for you when you were going through a rough time? You're like, at least I have my chips. Cookies, snacks. Why? Like, and get really specific. Peanut butter. Oh yeah. Ice cream. Nuts. You're like, why? Like, why are the nuts there? Why did the cookies come up? What about the peanut butter? Like, what? Is it because when you came home from school when you were a little kid, that's what you did? You got a spoon and you had some peanut butter? Like, get very specific. If you're bored, is it ice cream because when you were a kid and your parents took you to an ice cream parlor and that was like a special treat, you're like, oh, I want to give myself a special treat? Like, I really want you to look. Peanut butter and chocolate chips. Why? Like, why does, like, get really, really clear. One of my clients with the peanut butter, it's like that was one of the foods that she was allowed to have. Right? So interesting. So embarrassed. What food do you want to eat when you feel embarrassed? What food do you want to feel when you feel excited? What about uncertain or frustrated or overwhelmed? So Anna says to eat to keep my hands busy and change what I'm doing. It's a distraction. Okay. Peanut butter and chocolate chips. And like just take a few minutes. Get really curious. It's really fun to do this. Like I think about my time as a little kid eating the peanut butter when I came home from school. I think about like how I felt like rebellious. I was like, my mom would be so mad if she knew I was eating up with a spoon. And there was like this like rebelliousness. And it felt kind of powerful. Felt like I had some power. Okay. So when you get really curious about what you're doing and you actually start seeing, it's like, oh, I see what I'm doing. I see what's happening. When you understand that hunger comes from your stomach and it travels to your head and your hormones will be balanced, you will allow true hunger to come in waves. You will not be afraid of hunger. I have a client right now. She's doing like a 24-hour fast. She's really, every time she's hungry, it's like it informs her. It's like, oh, I'm using the science of weight loss. I'm actually utilizing the fat on my body. I'm emptying out all the sugar and everything from my bloodstream so that my body can now use the energy that's been stored on my body. She understands that. But so she has this craving to have cashews or nuts or whatever. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I just slow down. So hunger will come in waves and then it will subside. Just like, hey, hunger, welcome. That's so awesome. I know that when I'm hungry, that means that I've been using up all the blood, all the sugar, the glycogen, everything in my bloodstream. Perfect. I'm doing the right thing. I'm learning how to The hormones are the three, like leptin, ghrelin, and insulin are the three things we need for weight loss. Perfect. They're getting balanced. Great. When we have balanced hormones, awesome. And I do want you to know that our bodies are designed for famine, right? Feast and famine. So we're wired for us to like store a bunch of fat and then use the fat. So it's like we kill the buffalo, we eat as much as possible, store, 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 and then our body distributes that fat, that energy over time. So we are actually built that way. So when we're constantly eating and eating and eating, we're just storing, storing, storing. And if we're not using it, then it just is more storage. That's all. It's just science. So this is what you're going to need, the necessary skills. So you're going to need to follow your body's lead and learn and listen. You don't need to turn to food to create a desired emotion because emotions always just come from our thoughts. So we can just skip the whole eating the chocolate chip cookies. We can just think about our dad, we can think about our memories, and voila, we're done. We get the emotion that we wanted. We don't need to lift a spoon. Don't do any of that. You're going to use healthy food for a healthy body. We're going to label the emotion that we're feeling. We're going to allow the discomfort of emotions and not react to them. We're going to embrace that. And our body is wired for the feast and famine and hunger in our makeup. Isn't that amazing? So now you have all those necessary skills. And now the result that's going to be created because you have those skills is permanent weight loss. So you're going to learn how to use all of the stored fat in our body, and we're only going to eat when we're really actually hungry. It's so beautiful. All right, so that is today's training. So thank you for joining us. It's so lovely to see all of you on here. So I'd love to have any questions. What questions do you have for me? My dad's laundry lady is here. Okay, so ask me any question. Because I have the eating to keep my hands busy and changing what I'm doing. So when you have that, and I actually am all for like giving yourself healthy distractions. Like if you're tempted by food, I'm all in on like, yeah, go do some quilting, go do this, like kind of like distract yourself, right? Or but I don't want you to distract yourself with food. And what I do want to encourage you to do is to allow yourself to just like find the feeling that is the distraction. It's like when you're going for a walk, just walking and there's a little stone in your shoe. You're like, this is really annoying. So, but how many times do you actually stop and take this little stone out of your shoe? Or do you just keep going? And so this is what I want to encourage you is to like slow down and take that little stone out of your shoe and be like, this little stone is like bugging me. What is it? Is it that my daughter didn't call me back? Is it that I didn't, I'm feeling grumpy because I said yes to someone when I should have said no, and now I'm mad at myself, and now I have to like do all this extra work and that means I don't get to have any time for myself. Like that's that little stone. Okay. So so what is going on in my body? If I don't eat, I don't feel hungry, but I get the shakes and a headache. I think to eat is avoid feeling because I've been told that means my sugar is low. Okay. So one of the things that's happening is that we are, if our body is used to having a lot of sugar, that is like a reinforced desire. So it's like, I'm sad. And then you just go and get a chocolate chip cookie. Your brain is like, this is a great idea. Like the lower brain, because it says we're getting a bunch of sugar and it's being rewarded. Okay. So what's happening is that when you aren't giving your body that, burst of dopamine, it's going to go through withdrawal. And it's going to feel like you kind of get the shakes and you're going to feel this like withdrawal, just like drugs. right? I mean, I don't think you hang around with people going off drugs, but I mean, we see that in the movies. We see that like they literally like break into sweats. It's awful. It's the same thing with sugar and flour. I mean, people who do that with Diet Coke or with like any sort of caffeine when they stop drinking caffeine, same thing. It is like a physical reaction. You get headaches, all of that is very, very normal. So and so what needs to happen is that we need to start cleaning out all that extra sugar, right? It's kind of like sludge, you know. So if you have you know, like a sludge in a hose, we've got to clean all that out. We've got to get that going. So then instead of the hose being like like this wide, it's going to be this wide, like the hose, right? It's the same thing. So it is going to feel uncomfortable and you are going to have a headache. Yeah. It's basically breaking an addiction. Any other questions? Okay. So please ask them in the chat. I'll be here for another 9 minutes. Oh, is the best thing to do is to drink more water then? Totally. I would definitely recommend water and I would like give yourself love. And I was like, you basically have like flu like symptoms, right? So I would just take care of myself and say, like, hey, good job, self. Like, you're taking care of yourself. This is great. You're doing a good job. Like, you're giving yourself a new opportunity. And so if you need to lay down, go lay down and don't feel guilty. And I know a little bit about you, right? Be like, I'm taking care of myself and this is part of it. Do you feel, well, I shouldn't, I would probably gander. I know what the question is. It's hard for us to take a break when we feel sick, when we've had the flu. But sometimes it's just like, no, I'm really sick. Like I really need to. And so that is such a compassionate, kind thing to like lay down, have a nap. Your body's saying, I just really need you to like take care of me. So the emotional flu, like it's like taking care of that. It's just such a beautiful thing. So that's what I would recommend for you for sure. And like, yeah, drinking the water, getting yourself some nice herbal teas, getting yourself like, maybe if you like licorice, there's some really nice licorice herbal teas, definitely some ginger. Wouldn't that be so nice? Some nice ginger just to kind of like calm your body, relax, maybe even like putting one of those people are really big into essential oils. One of those, you know, they can put them in the air. You can smell this nice stuff. Just like really take care of yourself. And actually, what I think would be even more clear is if your grandchild or your kid was sick and you were like, oh, I'm going to take such good care of her. That's how I want you to take care of you. It's like if you have a fever, oh, sweetheart, let me do this for you. Okay, I want you to do that for yourself. All right. Okay, any other questions about that? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is after I do sometimes feel like I have so much like I want to share with everyone. So it is a bit of a fire hose. I do like give you lots of value, lots of things to look at. And so a lot of you are asking, okay, how do I do this? How do I get myself in a place where I can learn to overcome this food addiction, food problem, this because we don't have a thinking problem. We all know that eating like chocolate and all this like fried stuff is not good for us. And we know that we shouldn't be eating like all this all like multiple times a day, all of these things and snacking. We know that. But what we need to learn is how to figure out what's going on in this brain. We need support. We have a thinking problem, and I help you with the thinking problem. And so I'm just going to spend just a little bit of time just telling you how. And one of the ways, of course, is to come to my free trainings. I do these once a month. I am doing my class the next 4 days, and you can come to that. That's $11. You can totally come to those. And I've had so many ladies that have done a great job of losing weight on my free trainings. But this is what I'm learning is that the women, and I've had lots of them, who have gone a whole year of all my free trainings and then they join my program and they cannot believe it. They're like, oh my goodness, this is a game changer. Having this level of support, going so much deeper. Because I mean, I share a lot of the things that I teach in my program. Like we talk about ghrelin, leptin, insulin, all that. You guys know all that. But what starts happening is when you're in the program and you have the modules and you go deeper and you have the worksheets and you witness the weekly calls, the 3 calls a week, and you're interacting with the ladies in the program, your understanding of this is just so much deeper and you're able to have so much more power. And so that is why I've created this lifetime membership. It's $2,000 lifetime membership. And you can register now. You can come in. You can. It's at the doors are always open. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of walk you through a little bit about that. I will be here just for 4 more minutes because I am here with my dad and I want to respect your time as well. So so if you have any questions and if we run out of time and you have more questions, please email me, dara@darathomason.com. I'm happy to help you. I do, and I also we can also meet for 20 minutes. No problem. I love to meet with you and to answer any of your questions. Okay. So we've got the lifetime membership really helps you walk through these 5 vital steps. Weight loss science is simple. Create your own unique eating protocol, master the tools to troubleshoot your protocol, feel all your feelings, take responsibility for yourself, and then learn to trust yourself, which is the how to build self-confidence. So those are our 3 steps. So the first one, we have our modules that will cover that. We'll do the second one, we learn about how to not be afraid of our emotions. So these are just all the modules that we go through, okay? And what starts to happen is you understand why you are overweight and unhappy with your life, and then you learn these tools, just one after another after another. And just like, yeah, so I love this. One of my clients at the end of our the time together when I was doing groups, she said, "Oh, so I'm no longer I'm not a test. Sorry, a, ah, I am no longer a crash test dummy in my own life." She's like, "I'm in charge of my life. I can decide. I am now empowered," and that is what starts happening. Totally. You learn to slow everything down, just like I was saying in these hunger lies, and then you can make decisions powerfully. You don't find yourself like at the bottom of a potato chip bag going, what did I just do? Or you go through the Starbucks drive-through and you've had all the things, right? So what I've done to guarantee your success is I really am amazed at the power of group coaching. So being in a room with other women that are having the same problem as you is more powerful than I ever imagined. And so I loved doing one-on-one coaching. It was a joy. But I see how transformational it is for other women to see other women going through the same struggles and difficulties. Amazing. So that is part of our program. Love Yourself Then. And so if you get lifetime access to my 12 modules with all of the worksheets, all of that, it's so clear. It's so step by step by step. Okay. Like I am your guide. I walk you through those and you have access to those videos over and over and over. And then you have those. And then I've added this group program element where you have 3 calls a week. You don't have to come to all 3 of them. Do not get yourself overwhelmed, but you have those calls. You can get coached on them. You can get support on them. And then like the month of May, we're really focusing on hunger and we're going to have this really fun challenge. And every Monday, we really focus in on those lies that we talked about today and like how do we overcome them. So that is going to be our focus for the month of May. And so then we have the modules and keeping you on track. And I have a money back guarantee. So you can lose 20 pounds in the first 90 days. It happens all the time in our program. It's amazing. Now, the other part that has been so important for the success of my clients is having the group support. And I do feel like the women in my program, I feel like I'm like an NHL like recruiter. Like I am recruited the most amazing women in my program. It's such a safe place. It's so supportive. It really is incredible. So you have that element to help you guarantee your success. Um, so we've got our 12 modules, the trainings, the 3 live calls a week, and then the money back guarantee. So it's actually risk free. All right. I think that covers all of it. So we also have Ask a Coach. We have the 12-step perfection recovery program. And because like truly, I'm just so interested in guaranteeing your results. Okay. So that is our time. It was so fun to spend this time with you. Please feel free to message me. I can't wait for you to be a part of Love Yourself In. I just have to share just one quick story. Today I had a lady, we had our call today and we always do celebrations. And one of the ladies in the group, she's always felt like the overweight kid. She just never felt like she was ever her ideal body. And her husband just retired and they're doing all sorts of traveling. And so she came to about, I think, six weeks and really helped her. And she was like, I think she's lost 21 and a half or 22 and a half pounds. And she lost 4 pounds on vacation, road trip, 4 pounds. She did it. And now she's at 20, I think she's at 22 or 21 and a half pounds. And she started in the end of February. It's incredible. So welcome, come. And so you can you can pay right now. If you're Canadian, you pay Canadian. If it's American, you pay American. And if you want to talk with me, great. We can meet for like 20, 30 minutes. I can answer any of your questions. And yeah, all right. So take care, everyone. And also a reminder, tomorrow we're doing the 4-day master course on the 3 steps of permanent weight loss. I'm teaching new curriculum. I've never even taught to my clients in my program. It's going to be so amazing. So when you pay for the Love Yourself Thin program, you get all of those for free forever. And you can join in with us. It's going to be really, really fun. So, all right. Remember, if you have any questions, just message me, Dara at darathomason.com. Bye.